What's up, y'all, and welcome back to a special episode of The Long Haul. Today isn't a breakdown, a debate, or an interview. Today is about looking back at everything we've walked through together in 2025. Every challenge, every shift, every conversation, and every win this industry fought tooth and nail to earn. This year wasn't easy on anybody. We dealt with rising fuel, soft freight, political battles, fraud explosions, and a market that tested every small carrier's patience, discipline, and belief in themselves. But here's the thing. Even in the toughest stretches, you all kept going. You adapted. You learned. You asked the uncomfortable questions, and you pushed this industry forward 1 mile at a time together. And that's what this show is about. Not perfection, progress. Not hype, truth, and not just surviving the long haul, but understanding it, mastering it, and owning it. As we close out 2025 and head into 2026, I want you to remember this. Trucking has never been about easy roads. It's about strong drivers, smart owners, and people who don't quit when the world shifts under their feet. So today, we're celebrating the voices, the stories, and the moments that define the year, and preparing ourselves for a 2026 that demands clarity, courage, and leadership at every level. So let's take a look back, and let's get ready for what's next.
Your rig is where you work, where you rock out. Your rig is your livelihood. So when that DPF light comes on, give your rig the respect it deserves. As for Road Warrior, stronger seals, better manufacturing, and it's made of metal that lasts. Less downtime and more miles on the road so you can haul longer. Respect the rig. Become a Road Warrior.
Welcome to The Long Haul, the podcast dedicated to empowering small carriers and owner-operators to drive their business forward. I'm your host, Adam Wingfield, bringing you insights from industry leaders, real-world success stories, and strategies to help you navigate the road to profitability. Whether you're just getting started or looking to take your fleet to the next level, this is a show where trucking meets opportunity. So buckle up, it's time to go the distance.
Why freight waves, though? Where did this concept come from?
So I was day trading unsuccessful. This is where all my money went. So I had made a little bit of money in the business, Transcard's business, but I blew it all day trading. But the ambitions is there. You know, your ambitions is there. And when you've been and you've had success and you tasted it, you want more. This is a gambler's mentality. You want to go back.
Yeah.
And the thing about trading or gambling is oftentimes it's quick, right? It solves all these. You feel like, okay, business is hard and building things is hard, but gambling or day trading, which is actually really horrible for gambling.
Yeah.
Because I think something like 98% of day traders lose money. It feels easy, but it's actually quite the opposite. And you can get a couple wins. So anyways, I lost a lot of money day trading, and that was when I had to go get a proper job. But there was this moment where I just met my wife, and this moment where I had just had this like calling where I didn't care. I'd been at the low, and I didn't care about failing. And it was before oftentimes you start caring about failing, and you don't do anything.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I'd already felt like
the fear of failure is gone.
It's gone. I didn't care. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
I'll get another job somewhere. Yeah. And it's when I started what is now Freight Waves. And I'd been day trading stocks unsuccessfully, as I said. And I kept watching CNBC, and they kept talking about all these other markets that were an indication of the economy, like oil and ocean shipping and all that stuff. They never talked about trucking as a barometer of the economy.
It wasn't cool. It wasn't sexy.
It wasn't cool. And I'm like, there should be a business that talks about the freight market the way every other market's talked about. The way that you talk about the stock market.
The weather, you name it.
Oil, the oil markets have their markets and people talk about it. Or now cryptos and everything. They didn't ever talk about trucking on TV, and no one ever talked about it in the market itself. And that was the original idea for FreightWaves, was I wanted to create an information hub and data business, and this trading was also an idea based on trucking. And that was the original idea. Is I took my trading desire. And the other thing is that XD formation, that on-demand business I talked about, where we would charge whatever. You know what we had to get really good at? Because we would get hundreds of calls a day. And like literally, not even an exaggeration, it could be 1,000 truckloads out of LA.
Yeah.
You would have to get really good at figuring out what markets were going to pop. And so we had built these really arbitrary basic models of looking at the entire country and figuring out, okay, we can see this market starting to heat. So what we need to do is start pushing trucks in that
area. Yeah.
Even without a truckload, without a dispatch. So we would start basically planning.
Getting them in the
and then
area.
also pricing. We had to be really good at raising prices in markets, and we could see it all happen. And that was my enamorization with on-demand trucking, and that became the formation idea for Freightways, which was if you could take the data and you could see the whole market, and you had data understand it, then you could get ahead of these trends because you would have the advantage. And that was the original foundation for Sonar. Was I wanted to understand, could you build a data business that actually understood where the market was headed, not where it had been?
What are some of the common misconceptions, even, and I want to ask you just from your experience, because you deal with the TMS side, the sales side, when it comes down to it. What are the common misconceptions do small carriers have about working directly with shippers? And what were one of those things that, and this is a conversation that you and I have had before, but just tell the folks, what do you see in as common misconceptions?
The biggest one is I'm too small. Shippers don't want to work with me. I think that's the biggest one. Same thing as carriers adopting TMS. I only got 5 trucks. I don't need a system, right? I think people have that fear that stop them from what they're doing. And then a lot of the small carriers, when we reach out, say, hey, I want to reach out to Costco. How do I reach out to Coca-Cola? How do I reach out to Home Depot? You only have 3 to 5 trucks. You don't need those people.
Yeah.
Knock on your neighbor's door with 1 or 2 warehouses, and the forklift driver might be the owner. You knock on the door, you're talking to the owner. Talk to those people, right? Acquire those businesses first. And then as you scale, then you go to the bigger one. And a lot of times, I think that's the biggest part. The second part is technology. I think the misconception comes from carriers. They go, I'm too small. I don't need technology to help me grow. I can do this manually. But little do they realize all the work that they do, I categorize them as $5 tasks, right? You don't want to do data entry into your spreadsheet. And same data entry to entering into dispatch your drivers. And same thing again when you're invoicing your customers. You're doing the same thing 3 times. And you're providing updates. And you're sending POD, getting them from your driver. Your driver scan it to you through a scanner. You get your email. You upload to a folder, and you upload your email and send it to your customer. All the stuff, yes, you can do it. But those are the manual work that prevent you from going to knock on doors, from actually developing your pipeline of shippers.
One of the things that many drivers struggle with silently are just mental health, whether it's hey, I don't have anybody out here to talk to for long periods of time. You feel lonely out there. Just talk a little bit about that specific part of it, that specific component.
So the specific mindset shift that made all the difference in me was the understanding that the way I had done things had created who I was. I actually was bent over a toilet in a truck stop, puking my guts out. And I got up and I looked in the mirror, and the guy that I saw looking back at me, I hated him, right? And I realized that in that moment, I made him. I made him in entirety. And the only way I could unmake him is if I changed the focal length of my behavior, of my thought, and I did something entirely new. So I realized that if I tried to act on the way I felt in this moment, I would keep doing the same things. So regardless of how I felt, I just had to take the actions that made me into a different person until I was getting the reward of the good feelings from the results. And so I created this mental picture in my head of who I was going to be. I tried to see the guy that I was going to be in the mirror someday. And then I held on to that image so that I could both love that person enough and hate myself enough in the moment to get past the struggle of dealing with the limitations of my behavior, the limitations of my body, and to be able to move from the point where, you can't see much progress in the beginning of working out, right? To the point where after applying the consistent effort, I can then refocus and enjoy being participatory in the results that I was getting from that effort. Simply put, I just realized that, okay, I made this guy. The only way I'm going to make a new person is if I start acting differently. And then I allow myself to believe in who I'm going to be long enough to get to that point, applying the effort.
Here, and you said that you had a pacemaker installed, then turned around and had a heart transplant, open heart transplant, not too long after that.
Yes, sir. Yep, I had the pacemaker installed, and I was still trucking. I was still trucking with the pacemaker. DOT, it was fine and everything. But then what really stopped me, and this is actually a blessing from God, because I had got really, really sick later on down the line. I took a year off of trucking after I got my pacemaker put in, and I got healthy. I really did. But I got diagnosed with something called congestive heart failure. And congestive heart failure, for a little synopsis, it may look like you're getting better on the outside, but on the inside, it's something that will deteriorate your body over time. So I was running marathons. I ran 2 marathons. Well, I ran 1 half marathon in Charlotte. I ran another one in Matthews, North Carolina. Like, I had lost 42 pounds during that year, was doing great. And then I got to the truck driving school, put in a lot of hours there. And then I got into trucking at night, put in hours there, you know, and kind of gained some of the weight back. And then I went into cardiac arrest.
Wow.
So then DOT, they was like, no.
Yeah.
You got the pacemaker, you're going into cardiac arrest. No. So I ran into a roadblock where I couldn't get a medical DOT card. And that was a blessing within itself, because that's when I found out that the whole left side of my heart was completely dead, no blood flow. And that's when they rushed me to the hospital and put me on the list to get a heart transplant.
So you was lucky that all of that kind of transpired in that time frame and things kind of happened. And then it kind of woke you up from a health standpoint, but then it also woke you up too, as well as it drove a different passion with you. And that's really on the education side. That's when it got to CDL training. I want to walk with you through the state of the current CDL training place. I came back from the old school. I got my CDL back in 2000. So I came back from the old gear shifting cab over doghouse CDL school. So things were a lot different back then. From your experience, how would you describe the current state of CDL training? You know, I know you're at a school right now and you get to see a lot of different things. So from your experience now, how would you describe the current state of CDL training?
Okay, the current state of CDL training I would describe like this. It really falls on the FMCSA and the state guidelines, because at a lot of current CDL schools that I'm starting to see, you know, not the one that I'm at now, but ones that I've been at previous, and even just throughout the state of here in North Carolina, I got friends in this industry that own CDL schools and work at CDL schools as well. And I will say the current state is it needs to be better. It needs to be more aware. You have CDL schools that are charging between $5,000 to $10,000 to teach you the bare minimum. And their excuse is, well, that's just what the state requires.
Truck and Hustle went from, and I remember the opportunity when I connected you the first time, and maybe it wasn't, but it just felt like it was a basement movement. Like, you know, we were literally on and it was Zoom at the time. Now we've got more, you know, so we were literally on a Zoom together in a basement. I was in, you know, my first office, you were in a basement. But then from that point, you went from episode 34 to 200,000 YouTube subscribers as of February 2025. Did you expect that metaphor, that rise when you know, from episode 1 to now?
I gotta be honest with you and tell you I did, Adam. Like,
really?
I knew, I knew Truck and Hustle was special because it's like the voice or the soul of like the industry. Being in the industry for so long, like I have so many friends and so many people who are a part of this industry, who have aspirations to build businesses, to get their own trucking company, or build a business in the transportation and logistics space. So I knew like that was like a small sample size of what I knew a lot of the country looked like, or a lot of the world looked like. So if I could see this kind of like passion and this kind of desire in my own network, in my own circle, I knew that it existed outside of my circle as well. And then like that initial immediate response told me that this was going to be something that was special, and it was going to be something that was going to grow. I didn't know how big it was going to grow, but I knew it was going to be big. I knew it was going to be big because it just was different. Nobody else was doing it. Nobody else was, and it was just a matter of it catching on, and it was a matter of distribution at that point, a matter of people finding out about it and hearing about it and learning about it. I mean, there's people who listen and watch Truck and Hustle who have never even thought about the trucking industry. Like I get comments and stuff all the time. Like I'm not in trucking, but just watching the story was still amazing. You know what I mean? Like hearing about how they built this or did that was still like, I still sat here and watched the hour and a half of this show. And I have no interest in trucking, or at least I didn't know I did until now. You know what I mean? So when universe, like the entrepreneurial spirit and like the grind is universal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that resonates with everyone. It could have been trucking. It could have been anything else, honestly, because at the heart of it, it's about the trucking and it's about the industry, but it's really about the heart of the entrepreneur. That really is what makes Truck and Hustle what it is. And like you said, those stories, that's what makes it special. So I knew that having a platform that was shedding light on people that don't normally have light shed on them, right? Like these aren't people who are in the news every day and who's talked about on the blogs. These are like everyday blue collar people who represent really most of us. Like this is really, so people can see themselves in these stories and it's attainable. It's like, oh, I can do that. Like I can't be LeBron. Right. You know what I mean? Like to be LeBron might be a stretch. But to be Adam, that's not a stretch. I could be Adam. You know what I mean? Like I could get there. I could be like, so it's like hearing these stories, I knew that it would resonate with people. I knew that it would grow because it was just very relatable.
And I love the fact that you said separate yourself from your competition, because what many carriers don't realize is that your competition is truly the next small carrier that's beside you, that's bidding on the same exact freight. What makes you different than the next carrier is really, really important to set yourself up amongst the others. So truly, from your perspective, you know, looking at it from your experience, being in that broker seat, what separates those carriers who get repeat business, that broker might reach out and say, hey, I got a dedicated lane that's coming up. I'm going to call Adam first, because what is that separates those carriers who get that from the ones that just get one and dones, or you call in, you get a load, or there's nothing to it? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, there are so many things that I can point to. And I think that it really is a culmination of several. But if I was going to say one thing, and this seems so intuitive and so simplistic that I almost hate to say it, but it really comes down to communication, right? If the second that communication falls apart from a carrier to a broker, from a broker to a carrier internally at brokerages, that's when everything falls apart. If anything happens during transit, if you just give them a call, we can plan accordingly as long as we're in the know. A perfect example for this, one of the first kind of high value shipments that I earned when I was in my young buck days over at Robinson. It was a Saturday pickup, Saturday delivery. It was a hot shipment that needed to get out. And I worked with a carrier who I'd never worked with before. I was doing everything at this point. And I think I get a call must have been 10:30 or so on that Saturday, about 2 hours after he picked up. And he said, hey, Coleman, I got a problem. My truck just started smoking. I'm pulled over to the side of the road. This is where I'm at. This is what's going on. I got these parties involved. And I said, hey, first and foremost, are you good? Like I wanted to make sure he was safe. Yeah. But I'm like, thank you for this, for telling me, because then now I can actually start going behind the scenes and seeing what we need to do. Do we need to get a new carrier in there to transload and actually start get the shipment up there? Can the receiver then wait a couple extra hours? Roughly how long is it going to take him to get fixed? All of this. So at the core foundation of everything that we're doing, communication is that. And if you can keep up with communication to help us as brokers be a little bit more proactive, even though it's technically still reactive, if we can just get ahead of that, that's when it's going to be beneficial to everybody.
Why is it so easy for bad actors to get the FMCSA credentials and get access to freight in the first place? Like, where are the gaps?
That's a $64,000 question, really. You know,
Yeah.
And I did a study on this thing when I had a panel with the FMCSA not long ago. In the state of Tennessee, it takes approximately 1,100 hours, and it takes 3 years of school. You have to make sure you pay your school off, and you have to go through an apprenticeship and all these kind of things to become a barber in the state of Tennessee. To become a motor carrier in the United States or a broker, you need $300 on could be a stolen gift card from Visa, from Walmart. $300, to get in. A BOC3 registration, where you go to many people pay $99 or less to get that, and somebody that's going to issue some insurance, whether it's surety bond or insurance, or
commercial,
auto insurance.
All right.
So, do we care more about bad haircuts or safety on our highways? The laws are all there. MAP 21's been around for years. Deregulation in 1980, ratified in 1995, been around for years. There are so many regulations out there that protect us from all of this, but no one's enforcing them. That's where the real issue comes in.
It's the enforcement. It's long been enforcement.
Yeah. So here's what I think is really unfair, being a broker for so long and owning a trucking company, been an owner-operator. If the FMCSA determines someone is fit to operate, then they should be fit to use. Brokers are not detectives or, they're not background investigators. They are brokers. Motor carriers, they're not investigators or detectives. That should be up to the FMCSA to determine they're fit to operate. That means they're fit to use. And if the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration would just follow their own rules, like making sure that a broker goes through the proper training or has education to get his authority. That's been in law since Obama signed it in 2012 or something like that. But we still don't have that requirement. A principal place of business, you can't work out of a post office box. We've helped the FMCSA fix that. So on new applicants, we haven't seen one go through in almost 9 months, but there's still 5,000 out there that are. Affiliations with other FMCSA regulated entities. That's not illegal, but denying the affiliation or not disclosing it, that's illegal. We need to crack down on that. What makes that really difficult is that there's nowhere that I can look or you can look without going to the FOIA office, the Freedom of Information office, to see their applications, see if they marked that they were affiliated. I had a conversation with FMCSA and it said, I told them during your new modernization that's coming up, why don't you make it so on Safer, I can see if this guy's affiliated with anybody else? And if he is, what are those MC numbers he's affiliated with, or those DOT numbers? So when he gives me a loan and it's somebody, I can maybe do a little bit more due diligence. I'm not saying that brokers and carriers shouldn't do due diligence. Anybody in business does due diligence. But I don't think that we should be digging so deep into those things that the FMCSA should have looked at in the first place.
Today's episode is brought to you by Trucking Hub. Now listen, if you're still bouncing between 5 different logins just to run your trucking business, you're already behind. Trucking Hub is built by a carrier for carriers, and it puts everything under one roof, whether it be dispatch, safety, maintenance, and even accountant and a driver app. Their dispatch runs on PC Miler and Copilot navigation, so the miles are right the first time. Now the ELD is FMCSA certified, tamper-proof, and trusted since 2017. And if you want to keep it all in one lane, you can even roll in company phones, texting, video, and fax backed by nationwide LTE. Bottom line, this is the kind of system that's you spend less time hopping and more time hauling. Plans start at just $29 per truck, no contracts, no hidden fees, and you can try it for free for 30 days. Check them out at their website and get your time back. What does a reset actually look like for a business owner, right? Some might say, okay, all right, cool. Middle of the year, I'm just going to hit the reset button. Is it about hustle, clarity, letting go of the things that are actually not working? Like in your mind, for a small carrier, owner, operator on one truck or maybe 2 or 3 trucks, you say, hey, you know what? I might need to hit the reset button. What should that look like for a small carrier?
It's everything you just said. And I'll tell you what, I start with a vision no matter what. And I don't think we should ever sell ourselves short. In fact, if you think your goal is wildly achievable, you didn't set a goal. You just set a task.
It's just not scary enough.
It's not scary enough. And it's not, a goal needs to be, a true goal needs to be something that actually drives you to do something that you wouldn't without the goal. And so if you're and again, just making numbers up, if you think simply by showing up, you're going to do $1 million this year, well, why are you there? What impact are you having on it? And now, by the way, that's fine. If somebody's goal is to just maintain, that's for them. But for those who are in growth, how are we going to stretch ourselves? And so the reset comes by accepting that, number one, accepting I am not where I want to be. There may be outside factors. This is number two. Of course, economy, market, storms, competition, customers. We've had that blowout. We had this fraud. We had this, whatever. Those things are realistic factors that we should consider when setting our goal. Okay. But I am the one responsible for hitting it. So what am I going to do about it now? Number one, I am not going to achieve the $4 million. Okay. So I can stop beating myself up. That's over.
Yeah.
We hit reset. I let that go.
Yeah.
Is $2 million out of the pocket though? No, it's not. Now let's reverse engineer how we can get there. And so some of that, of course, is going to be, what do we need to do different? And number one, what is the uncomfortable thing we have to do? The uncomfortable thing. I do this every single day. There are certain tasks that I do every day that are part of my routine because, and I'm candidly, it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, how does this one make you money? What's more important right now? You can do this at 6 o'clock at night, or you don't have to do it at all. So make an uncomfortable decision. Fire the customer that you don't need to. Raise the price on someone that you need to. Lower the price on someone that you need to. Stop going after bad freight. And just let that one hang there for a minute, right? What are the things that are going to help us achieve the goal, and focus wildly on that and strip everything else away? Get wildly committed, even if you just break it down to what am I going to do this month?
But one of the things that came up in your survey that I got to question you on, and I really want to have conversation about, because it said 60% of the carriers in your survey said they feel optimistic about where trucking is headed in the future. But when we talk to small carriers, and then you look on social media, you look on TikTok, you look on Reddit, you look on X, many feel that they're one rate cut away from trucking. They feel like the technology folks, and let's just say it, like the tech folks, like the big tech, it's like working together to try to move more towards what we're seeing in this autonomous place. What's fueling that optimism that you found on you guys' side? Does it really reflect the 1 truck, 2 truck, 5 truck experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like too, from a social media standpoint, I feel like often a lot of the negative voices get brought to the surface more. So I always talk about the broker carrier relationship. And there's so many negative voices around how brokers are bad, or, the relationship's bad. But getting and living in operations and seeing firsthand positive broker carrier relationships and solid relationships that are built, it's like you oftentimes get a different lens than you might through social media. 1, 2, I do feel like there's 2 sides of it. I think there is still some concern and things that are concerned. For me, where I think, the 60% optimism that's kind of driving, highlights a couple things. One is that there's just confidence that trucking and transportation will always be here. There's rate challenges, certainly, number of freight, and how I balance my network, and I might have a good head haul, but how do I get the back haul to get back home, and is that as readily available? And then also, what's the rate at, right? And so there's challenges to this, but there's also so many years that the trucking and transportation has proven to correct itself and adapt in order to keep progressing forward. And so that's kind of what's happening at the micro cyclical environment. It's been a long down cycle, so there's some unknowns there. But at the macro level, there's so much positive conversations around driver experience and improving driver experience. The data around experience at shippers and receivers, and now brokers and other folks advocating on behalf of drivers and carriers to shippers to say, we have to improve this experience because there's data that shows it impacts your rate. and it impacts the drivers that will haul your freight. And so technology has enabled a positive momentum in those conversations, whether it's dwell time, average dwell time at shippers and receivers, optimizing the freight patterns and things like that. And so I think there's some optimism that spurs from that.
So you've worked with thousands of small fleets and owner operators with the whole truck,
with TruckX, yeah.
With TruckX, What do you think most people outside the cab still don't understand about running a trucking business? You've seen a lot of different trucking companies, but what do you think that they still don't understand?
So looking from outside, right, it seems like a simple job, pick up something, deliver something, right? But there is so many things go behind it, right? I mean, your truck can go wrong. You are looking for the weather conditions, right? What is wrong? And the biggest part is the market conditions change a lot. So for an owner operator, they don't get fixed rate or fixed bookings from a shipper directly. It's hard for them. Reason? Not that they are not good at their job. The reason is they cannot predict their availability for a shipper to be consistently picking up the load every day, especially for long haul. Short haul, sure, it's different. But for long haul, it's very hard. So they have to go to the spot market or to the brokers, either relationships or go to DAT, truck stop, and try to book the freight. This is where the complications come in. Now, if you're driving on the road, you're driving, you cannot scroll through load boards. You can have a phone conversation, but you cannot scroll through load boards and look into the UI. So what ends up happening is you have to still do your dispatch. Either your spouse, your cousins, your family does that for you, which is not very optimal because they have other things to do as well. Now you're involving the entire family into your business. Or second, you go outsource it. So if you've seen last 4 or 5 years, there are so many outsourcing companies, like even not present in the US, right? They just doing the job for you. Initially it worked well, and then later on the greed comes in, and then a lot of fraud starts happening. Third option, you go to a larger trucking company saying, hey, you have 15 trucks, 20 trucks, can you dispatch for me as well, right? Another owner op. Or you go to a model like Landstar, wherein you get a lot of benefits from a larger company and they take 30-35%. So we feel that with AI, you can own most of these pieces. You can. That's what Baba is really built for. So Baba can. Now we announced partnerships with DAT and Truckstop. So now you can actually log into your DAT and Truckstop account. Thank you. And so that's a big deal, right? Now from day one, you have millions of loads available for you, the same as you had before. Manually, someone looking into it. We can we can search in background for you. And then Baba can call the broker, negotiate on your behalf. So the way Baba works is you give access to your emails. So any inbound emails as well, Baba can respond. But the best part is once you log into your DAT truck stop, you can plan a trip. So you say, hey, I have 1 truck or I have 3 trucks. For every truck, you plan a trip. I want to go from Dallas to Chicago back, or you're going to Miami, or if you're going to West Coast. Baba will keep looking for the best available freight in that lane for you.
FreightWaves is gone woke, right? So I find that funny, and I want to address that really quick. And I want to first I want to take it back.
Yeah,
I want to take it back, okay? And I want to give you a little bit of a history lesson, if I may. So the definition of woke, and this came when I was growing up, like in my community, in the urban community. What woke means, and it's on your screen, back then, oh, you know what? I know what you're talking about. Hey, this guy right here, he's woke. He knows what's going on. He knows about everything that's going around him. We used to call the folks woke. They would have like the beanies on their head. They would be like really, really positive. They were talking about the New World Order, and they were talking about revelations and things like that.
Yeah.
Reading Revelation. That was woke.
It was mind open.
Like you know what's going on around you. That was woke. But somewhere, some way, somehow, it turned into a bad thing to be aware.
Right.
But that's not it, though, because that's not what it is. It's got changed because if you don't agree, or if what you're talking about doesn't fit what we're saying, then you're woke. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm confused, which I'm really not because I'm smart. But I'm confused. I'm like, how you taking this word and like changing it like that. So like if you walk around and like your dog's got a book bag on, you woke. Or you know what I mean? Or if you've got you think about things a little bit different than where everybody else thinks. You're woke and you're put into this box, right? And I thought that was funny, and it comes from so much from the government, right? They talk a lot about, anti-woke, yada, yada, yada. Man, listen, man, my opinion is my opinion. Like, don't try to associate nothing with my opinion. I'm going to tell you what it is. That's just the type of person I am. And if you don't like it, cool. I'm not going to sit there and cry over spilled milk. We can have that conversation. You want to have that conversation respectfully. But that's a problem. Like, we can't even talk. We can't even have those dialogues. So then I thought it was funny when this tweet pulled up. The Department of Homeland Security, who's been really, really, really big on pushing, like, hey, we're going in and we're attacking, yada, yada, yada. They threw this tweet up. And I thought that tweet was really, really funny. And the reason why I thought this tweet was funny is because it says America for Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are asleep no longer. What does that mean?
We're woke. We have awoken. Awoke. Wake. Awake is the noun or verb. Awake. Adjective?
It is.
Whatever part of speech it is, woke is derived from the thought of being awake. It's fascinating. And I think, we can address the details of this or not. Again, it's no skin off my back. It's one of those things you read and ignore, right? But the overarching point of this conversation is that we're at a place, and not just in the trucking industry, we're at a place from the globe as a whole where adding nuance to conversation, which is our entire goal in this dialogue back and forth, and our entire goal from everything that we try to do here from our platform, right, is to add a little bit of nuance, to invite conversation, to invite open dialogue, to invite good, kind conversation that's productive. That type of nuance is now taken into an extreme where you get called woke, which doesn't necessarily make sense. It doesn't equate, right? It doesn't equate. And I don't see it being a bad thing to open to that kind of dialogue and to be open and receptive to that kind of nuance.
And I'm super excited to have Natasha Sanders, a senior, not a freshman, not a sophomore, not a junior, but I got a senior business coach.
Yes, you do.
With Amazon, the 3-letter word AFP, which from that vernacular is known well in the Amazon program.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show, Natasha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adam. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, listen, I want to know what AFP stands for. Well, I know, but what the listeners know. What does AFP stand for?
So AFP stands for Amazon Freight Partners.
Amazon Freight Partners.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And there's Amazon Freight, there's Amazon Relay, there's Amazon Shipping. AFP specifically, Amazon Freight Partners.
There's Amazon everything.
Oh, there might be. Yes.
There's Amazon everything.
I think you might be right.
So for the folks that seen those blue trucks and they don't really know how it works, what's the difference between Amazon Freight Partners and Amazon Relay?
Okay, so Amazon Freight Partner is a global program where Amazon is partnering with, those small business leaders who are interested in starting their own trucking companies, right?
Right.
So Amazon is partnering out. We'll probably talk a little bit later about all the things that Amazon does provide in that partnership. Where Amazon Relay, completely different. This is where truck owner operators who are operating their trucks right now, they go onto the Amazon, the Relay load board. And they find spot work and different type of, auctions.
Got it.
Post the truck, work like that, where they're actually hauling Amazon loads as well.
So Amazon Freight Partner is a lot different from that perspective, because as a relay, I got my own truck, got my own authority. I'm just looking for a little bit of work here. But then you're saying Amazon Freight Partners, we're a little bit more graduated in that. Talk a little bit deeper on what that looks like.
Oh, absolutely. So, again, Amazon Freight Partner, again, a global program. So looking for anyone, again, catering to those more so smaller businesses, or smaller, leaders who are looking to start and, fuel their own trucking company fueled by Amazon.
Got it.
Right. So Amazon is coming in and at very, very low cost. Amazon is providing all of the fleet.
All the trucks.
Amazon's providing all of the trucks.
Okay.
Giving you consistent weekly work
Okay.
Fixed weekly rate, so guaranteed work, program, business longevity.
Yep.
Amazon covers the fuel and toll costs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Partnering with dedicated vendors
Okay.
where they have the opportunity to connect with value-added services. So a lot of the things that in the industry you find a little bit more difficult to kind of connect with or pull into yourself.
Yeah.
Amazon is providing that for those interested.
The thing is that takes us to the next one, which is receipts. And when I think about receipts, I think about, I just got a receipt for lunch just a few minutes ago. Like I think about that receipts. But there was something really, really interesting into the delivery receipt that basically stated that upon taking possession of the goods, the carrier shall assume liability for the goods until proper delivery is made at the consignee. When that forklift takes that pallet and puts it on the trailer, I'm taking possession of the goods once the door closes, right? So that means that if something happens, like, whatever, and, temperature issues, whatever, pallet tips over, whatever, it's saying that I am the one that's responsible. Am I wrong?
The carrier is strictly liable for damages of the product inside that trailer. To your point, when the doors close, you may never have even seen how it was loaded. You might, as a driver, think, I want to go inside the warehouse or the distribution center and see how they loaded it. You may not be able to do that. You may never touch the freight. But the way the stuff is structured as a motor carrier, those doors close, that is on you. Now, there are ways to go back at the shipper or the receiver and say, hey, the damage didn't happen with my custody and control. But this is the idea. It is difficult to safely deliver freight on time and undamaged, even in the best circumstances. But those doors close. That is your liability. That is your possession. You have custody. You have control.
Then you move into no substituted services and diversion or reconsignment. That sounds like a fancy word for double brokering.
1,000,000%. They are saying, you're going to take this. You've already promised me you have authority, your regulatory compliance. You've taken possession. You will not double broker this. You will not give another person the custody and control. It is you who is taking this freight. And it is, again, like double brokering is not really an FMCSA issue. They don't really regulate that. So they have some ways of protecting your identity and how you sign on to things. But ultimately, this is something done to protect them from making sure you're not double brokering it. If you do double broker, maybe they can sue you, but as long as it arrives safely on time, they're probably not going to do a lot. I mean, we see double brokering happening or co-brokering happening all over the place. Co-brokering, just for your audience, is when all the parties know that another broker is involved. There's disclosure. So you're exactly right. This piece of the contract is saying, hey, we're going to give you this freight. Don't double broker it. Don't give it to somebody else.
It's hard because I think drivers think that they're negotiating with the broker. They're not negotiating with the broker. They're negotiating against supply and demand. The broker just happens to be that translator. But you are negotiating against supply and demand. If you are one load to 100 trucks, that's what you're negotiating against.
Everybody's going to agree. You're going to have people disagree with that.
Which I understand.
But that's the facts. That's the facts, though.
Me and you have to work as a team to try to get the customer the price that they're going to accept. Because they got a bottom line. They got a financial. You want to meet mean people? Talk to a financial officer at a company when you're over budget. When you're over budget, that financial officer is like, oh my God, here she comes. We're doomed. Yeah. We're all doomed. Because they're like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Because you're over budget. So what you need to understand is that now, are all brokers this way? No, there's bad brokers out there. I hate brokers and I am one. I get most of my freight because other brokers don't know what they're doing, right? Which is good. But if you understand that we are both negotiating against supply and demand, and that supply and demand is I'm competing, I'm trying to get you in the door. My sales skills have to get you in the door. Your sales skills and value that you bring to me have to get me in the door. Like it's that teamwork to try to get this thing in there to make this move. And it's difficult for drivers. I say this to them. I say, you have a windshield view. I have a top-down view. Mm-hmm. And if you have a truck driver's view, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you want to move from driving the truck into logistics, you got to reposition yourself from that top-down view.
That's right. Windshield.
And that's very difficult to do. I had a hard time with it because when I came in, I'm like, drug brokers are still doing this and doing this. And then after spending years and years and years with having to earn absolutely everything to eat, like there's no load board for me. I have to cold call. I have to get in customers. I have to prove my value. I have to separate them from somebody that they're already using because they probably already have a logistics provider. What can I do better? Is it my knowledge? Is it my ability to get the truck? Is it my honesty? Is it my price? Something's got to get me in that door. And that's you. And I tell this to drivers all the time. You couldn't afford me if you just wanted me. Like the fact that we're doing this load together, you now get 25 years of experience from bottom to top. You couldn't afford me if you tried to hire me off the street. And I know that drivers are going to be like, oh, that should spark a little bit of engagement. But that's the honesty of it. I want to be honest. Like one truck driver out there running the spot market, trying to build his business, you would never have a chance to hire me if you were to put me in the position that you needed me to be in just to work for your company. But you're now getting my experience and my knowledge and my ability to do this because I'm working on volume with everybody else.
Some of the folks believe that OOIDA supports foreign non-domicile CDLs. Where is that coming from? And can you speak directly to that? And
Yeah, I can. Yeah, OOIDA does not support foreign non-domicile CDLs. I'll remind you, OOIDA does not support non-domicile CDLs, period. Every time this came up, when this come up and got passed in 2019, OOIDA was the only people out there saying no, pushing back. Unfortunately, and this happens a lot, these things seem like really small, minute problems when they're going through Washington. And I get it. And again, I'm not throwing truckers under the bus, but because I get it. I was a trucker too. When I heard about small, minute little things like that when I was trucking, what do I care? It never affects me. It got nothing to do with me. What do I care? So there was times I didn't call my lawmaker or do the things that OOIDA wanted us to do. And, what happened, though, was through OOIDA's forethought of seeing that this little small problem could become a big problem, not as big as what we thought.
Right.
I mean, it got way bigger than what we thought, I should say.
Sure.
Myself. But we knew it would be an issue. We knew, if nothing else, it wasn't helping driver pay. It wasn't helping any of these things. It was just putting more butts in the seats, which was playing to the shortage. But with all that being said, we fought against it. It got passed. Here we are 5-6 years later. Now it's this huge problem. Unfortunately, people didn't really pay attention to it back in 2019.
And y'all were screaming. Y'all were screaming it back in 2019.
What's that?
Y'all were screaming no back in 2019.
We were screaming no, but not, like I said, members didn't really get behind it, not really care, because it's like I said, because I get it. Because when you're trucking and you're in a trucking, you're worried about you and what affects you and in your life. And sometimes, and I mean, I've been on the board at OOIDA since 2004, and I would come out of the board meetings, I'd be like, why are we even dealing with this? Because it doesn't affect Louis Pugh's world, but, there's a lot of truckers out there, and that's what truckers forget. It's a big, diverse industry. And we always have to try to look as what's best for the industry in a whole, maybe not what's this sector, this person, this section, whatever. So that always creates rubs, and I get it. But that's what people have to remember. We're looking for better. But with that all being said, now all of a sudden this has become this huge problem, and we have these people out there going, where was OOIDA? OOIDA didn't do anything, blah, 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 blah. OOIDA been talking about this since, 2015, 2012, I don't know. It's just like ELDs. We fought ELDs to the end. We had bills in Congress to pause it, stop it. We had lawmakers flip at the last moment. We took it to the Supreme Court, and we lost. We lost. But we fought it as far as we.
As we wrap up this special episode, I want to take a moment to speak directly to everyone listening. Every driver, every small carrier, every owner-operator, every family member who keeps this industry standing. 2025 didn't give us much breathing room. It stretched us, it exposed weak spots, and it forced tough conversations and demanded decisions a lot of folks weren't ready to make. But through it all, you showed up. You stayed committed to learning, to growing, and to being a better you than you were the year before. That resilience, that willingness to adjust your mirrors, tighten your grip, and keep rolling forward, that's what defines the community. Not the headlines, not the noise, not all the market cycles, you. And I'm proud to walk alongside you in this journey. Proud of the conversations we had this year. Proud of the truth we brought into the open. Proud of the community impact that we're making. And even when it feels like the world isn't listening, it really is paying attention. As we head into 2026, remember this: nothing changes unless you do. Nothing improves unless you choose to take the next step. And no matter how uncertain the road ahead looks, growth is still possible. Success is still possible. For the ones who are willing to learn, to keep adapting and keep pushing through, it's going to be for you. So thank you for riding with us this year. Thank you for trusting this platform, and thank you for being part of the community that refuses to settle. I'm Adam Wingfield, and this is The Long Haul.